Should Klay Thompson move to the bench and be the sixth man of the Dallas Mavericks? That's what we're talking about on today's show. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Should the Mavs move Klay to the bench? Let's talk about it here on Mavericks Today. Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Jeffrey Cooperstein. I think the Mavs should move Klay Thompson to the bench, and I have a couple of reasons why that should be the case. And we'll start, number one, just looking at Klay's numbers here. And look, Klay hasn't been bad this season. I also think he's been a little inconsistent. There's a multitude of factors for why that's going to be the case. Here's what he's done so far this year. 13.5 points, just shy of 40% from the field on 12.5 attempts, 35.6% from three on 8.5 attempts. And in the game the other day against the Oklahoma City Thunder, he was not good. Just 1 of 11 from the field, including 1 of 8 from three-point range. But overall, I think the Mavericks just need balance. They need someone to come off the bench who can put the ball in the basket. Now, you were hoping that it was either going to be Jaden Hardy or Spencer Dinwiddie that was going to be that guy for you this year. They just haven't done it enough on a consistent basis. Does Klay moving to the six-man role help you accomplish that goal of finding consistent scoring from your bench? I think it might. Look, right now the Mavs sit in the bottom 5 in the NBA of bench points per game at just 28.9. Plain and simply, they don't score a lot from the bench outside of whichever center is on the bench, whether it's Lively or Daniel Gafford. They just don't get consistent production there, and they absolutely need it if they're going to be a team that competes in the Western Conference. Now, the bench looked pretty good against the Oklahoma City Thunder, largely due to the thanks of Daniel Gafford, who went off, and Najee Marshall was really good as well. I think Klay fits on the bench because he fits within the Mavericks offense as a second option as opposed to a third. In the starting lineup, he is obviously the third option behind Luka Doncic and behind Kyrie Irving. But if the Mavs were to bring Klay off the bench and they would sub him in for one of those guys, that would make Klay the second option who is currently in the game. And that's kind of where I think he would thrive. If he's playing the two next to whether it's Luka, whether it's Kyrie, etc. So here's what your current starting lineup looks like right now. Obviously, Lively and Gafford are interchangeable, but when everyone's healthy, this is what it looks like. Now, if you replace Klay Thompson with a couple of options that we talk about here in just a moment, I think you could find much more balance, and it would be beneficial to Jason Kidd to have Klay coming off the bench. He's someone that's a veteran leader. He doesn't take long to get going. The only thing is Klay would have to buy in. As far as the rotation goes, I think that part of it is pretty easy. You bring Klay in around the 6-minute mark when you make the first substitutions, whether it's for Luka or Kyrie, probably Kyrie. And then in another 4 minutes at around the 2-minute mark, you bring Klay back in for whoever you subbed out. And that's how you keep at least 2 of those 3 guys on the floor at all times in the first quarter. The rotation itself is pretty easy. The question is whether or not Klay Thompson would buy in to being your sixth man. And I think that's a whole nother discussion for another day. I think Mavs GM Nico Harrison sold Klay Thompson on the vision of him being a starter on this team, something that Golden State didn't want to do. We know Golden State wanted to bring him off the bench, and he was very reluctant to do so. Would he buy in to the Mavericks thinking of bringing him off the bench? Would Jason Kidd be able to convince him of something that Steve Kerr couldn't? I don't know, and I think that's a whole other part of the equation as well. If Klay buys in, I think this is something that could really work for the Mavs and get them going more consistently on the offensive and the defensive end, which they've also been pretty good on. We'll get to more here in just a moment, but I do want to tell you guys about our sponsor, which of course is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And when my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And also, Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals this sports season. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, where each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. And here's my Monday Night Football projection for tonight. You can take a screenshot, you can copy my picks, or you can make some picks of your own. Just please make sure you do it with our friends over at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That link will be in the comments and the description of today's show. It is PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, now, let's talk about who should start in Klay Thompson's place. I think it's an obvious two answers to the equation here, and you can sort of pick which one you think is better or worse. Now, here are your two options. It's Naji Marshall and Quentin Grimes. Those are the only two logical options, I think. You're not starting Spencer Dinwiddie. You're not starting Jaden Hardy going ultra small that way. So these are your two options here. For me personally, I would go Naji Marshall, and here's why. I think the ball handling aspect of it would really help the Mavericks out. That would give you 3 true ball handlers on the court at any given time with Luka, Kyrie, and Naji. And that just gives you that much more versatility on the offensive end. And Naji's physicality on the defensive end as well is a reason why I think him being in the starting lineup over Klay could work out. Naji's a bigger, stronger defender who can guard your 3s and 4s, whereas Klay Thompson, he's still okay on defense, but he's really more so guarding your 2s and your 3s, and he's not nearly as physical as he once was. Naji's going to get you rebounds. He can play make. He can score in the paint. He can do all of the things that the Mavs really need from their wing players. And if your wings are Naji Marshall and PJ Washington, especially defensively, you're going to be able to do a lot more than when you would with Klay Thompson on the court defensively as well. I know the NBA meta right now is to switch everything, and that's another show for another day because I think the Mavs really need to stop that. But Naji gives you more switchability on the defensive end as well, and that's another reason why I just think putting him into the starting lineup would spark this Mavs team. The Mavs sit here at 7-7 right now. I think this could propel them into the top of the Western Conference standings. And that's not to discount Quentin Grimes. He absolutely needs to play. I think the fact that he got a couple of DNP coaches' decisions at some points this year is just unacceptable because of his defensive versatility and his ability to knock down three-point shots. QG's got to play, plain and simple. Whether he starts at the 3 or he comes off the bench, there has to be a role for Quentin Grimes on this team. I prefer it to be off the bench, but if Jason Kidd elects to start Quentin Grimes, I wouldn't hate it whatsoever. I think he's earned that, and I think he's earned his spot in the rotation so far this year. Let me know who you guys think should start between these two, not considering Klay Thompson. If you think it's Naji Marshall, go ahead and type 13 down in the comments. If you think it's Quentin Grimes, go ahead and type 5. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say down below. Here is the upcoming schedule for the Dallas Mavericks. We will be live for the Pelicans game tomorrow evening. That's a big one, an NBA Cup game at home. Mavs got to win that one. And then you have a crucial 3-game road trip. You go to Denver on Friday. That's going to be an interesting one. Then you're at Miami on Sunday before the second night of a back-to-back in Atlanta Monday. And then Wednesday, the New York Knicks come to town, who are kind of in a similar spot as the Mavs, where they're trying to figure out exactly what they are as a team and how exactly their rotations click and whatnot. So that's an intriguing game. Look, the schedule doesn't get much easier from here. I see 2 games in this 5-game stretch that you absolutely should win, and that's the Pelicans and the Hawks. The Nuggets, Heat, and Knicks games will all be very interesting. Hopefully you can get at least 1, if not 2 of those, and really get yourself on the right foot. And I've said this multiple times on the channel. The Mavs have to take advantage of the games against the Eastern Conference because the West is so much better than the East. You have to be right around that 19 to 20 win range against the East out of the 30 games you play against them every single year. Otherwise, the statistics tell you you're likely not going to be a part of that postseason conversation. So win the games against the East, win the games you should against the Pelicans, and you'll find yourself in an okay spot. Again, we'll be live tomorrow on the channel, probably around 7:15 p.m. Central Time for Mavericks versus Pelicans. That's an NBA Cup game. So please tune in, and we'll see you soon here on Mavericks Today. Thanks for watching.